There is such an extreme level of calm that it makes people look at you as if you were from another planet. Today you will discover exactly how to get there. Have you ever seen that person who never loses their composure? Who in the midst of total chaos when everyone else is panicking just takes a deep breath and solves it? While many are sweating during an important presentation, they speak as if they're chatting with a friend. While others are stuck in an argument, they respond with eerie calm. And you know what people say about this kind of person? Man, how does she manage to stay so zen? There's an ancient system created by the most legendary samurai in Japanese history that produces precisely this seemingly impossible kind of serenity. Miyamoto Musashi called it Gorin no, the Book of Five Rings. But it's not just a book of military strategy. It's a manual on how to transform your mind into an impenetrable fortress. Once you understand how this system truly works and start applying it to your daily life, you'll never again feel like pressure is controlling you. But here's what you need to know up front. This isn't about becoming calm and peaceful. It's about something far deeper. It's about becoming completely unbreakable from the inside out. Before we dive in, if this kind of content resonates with you, hit subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment below. Tell me about a moment when you wished you'd kept your cool under pressure. Your feedback genuinely shapes what I create next. Now let's get into it. Chapter 1, The Mind That Holds Still. I want to tell you about a man named Marcus. Sharp, educated, driven, the kind of person who thrives when things are easy. But the moment the stakes went up, something inside him cracked. Board presentation? His voice gave out. High-stakes negotiation? His mind went blank. Conflict with his team? He'd erupt and regret it instantly. The cycle was always the same. Confidence in calm conditions, anxiety as pressure built, total breakdown at the peak, followed by shame and frustration. He tried it all. Box, breathing, journaling, mindfulness apps, even a therapist. Nothing stuck. Why? Because he was trying to manage his reactions rather than fundamentally changing the kind of person he was. That changed the day he started studying why a legendary 17th-century Japanese swordsman never lost a single recorded duel across an entire lifetime of combat. Chapter 2, The Warrior's Hidden Principle. That swordsman, let's call him the master, left behind writings that cut right to the core of human performance under pressure. He described the ideal mind as being like still water. Calm water reflects everything with perfect clarity. Disturbed water reflects nothing at all. But this wasn't about serenity. The master was developing what ancient Japanese philosophy calls fudoshin, the immovable mind. Think about what the master actually faced. Real duels. Instant death. No room for a reset, no pause to recenter. Every confrontation lasted seconds. And across dozens of life or death encounters, his composure never broke. What did he understand that most of us don't? Pressure isn't something the world does to you. It's something your own mind manufactures. When you perceive a threat, even a social or professional one, your brain's survival system fires. Cortisol floods your bloodstream. Your heartbeat spikes. Rational thought takes a back seat. You're not responding to what's actually happening. You're responding to the story your ancient, primitive brain is telling you about what might happen. Chapter 3, The Illusion You've Been Living in. Marcus found this out at the worst possible time. He was presenting to a major client. Significant revenue on the line. A room full of decision-makers. The moment he opened his mouth, his mind just shut down. The room wasn't the problem. The presentation wasn't the problem. The problem was the mental script running in the background. If this goes wrong, I'm done. They'll see through me. Everything I've built will fall apart. That internal narrative was more real to his nervous system than anything in that room. His brain responded as if he were in physical danger, because to it, he was. This is the master's first and most important insight. The opponent you're fighting isn't in the room. It's inside your head. When you truly internalize that pressure is a construction of your own mind, not an objective external force, you gain the ability to dismantle it. But the master didn't stop at managing pressure. He wanted to make himself immune to it entirely. That's where his concept of the ordinary mind comes in. Chapter 4, The Ordinary Mind. The idea is deceptively simple. Maintain the exact same internal state regardless of what situation you're in. Whether you're making yourself a coffee, having a relaxed conversation with a friend, or standing in front of a room full of people whose judgment matters, the mind doesn't shift. The center holds. This isn't about being robotic. It's not emotional suppression. It's about having a stable core that external circumstances can't knock off balance. Marcus started training this in a way that felt almost absurd at first. He'd pick completely low-stakes situations and consciously practice showing up the same way he did when he was alone and relaxed. Ordering at a cafe, same breathing, same posture, same ease. Speaking to his manager, same groundedness. Handling a small negotiation, same steady focus. The first week, his body resisted constantly. Heart rate spiking, palms sweating, voice slightly off. That's completely expected. You're trying to override a stress response system that evolution has been building for millions of years. By the second week, he noticed he could sustain calm breathing longer before the alarm bells went off. By week 3, he spoke in a small team meeting and stayed, almost, exactly as grounded as he would have been at home alone. Neuroscience backs this up. Research on stress response reprogramming shows that when you consistently practice maintaining the same internal state across varying contexts, you literally alter the neural circuitry that triggers anxiety. The brain stops flagging those situations as threats, because experience has taught it they aren't. The key mechanism? Graduated exposure. You can't rewire something you never confront. But that doesn't mean throwing yourself into the deep end immediately. You build up, smaller stakes first, larger ones later. That's exactly how Marcus trained. Chapter 5. Emptying the right things. The ordinary mind gave Marcus a foundation. But there was still a layer of friction holding him back. He finally gave a presentation without shaking, but he realized he was burning enormous mental energy thinking about the presentation rather than simply being present in it. The master addressed this too. He wrote that a mind filled with thoughts of the fight has no space left to actually fight. In other words, when all your focus is going toward managing your nerves, there's nothing left for the task itself. What the master advocated wasn't emptying the mind of everything, it was emptying it of everything that didn't belong in the present moment. Marcus built a simple pre-performance ritual he called a mental clear-out. 3 questions asked before any high-pressure moment. What do I actually need to do right now? What do I actually need to know right now? How do I need to be right now? Anything that didn't answer one of those 3 questions got cut. Worrying about how it might go? Gone. Anxiety about being judged? Gone. Mental rehearsal of worst-case scenarios? Gone. What remained was the task, the relevant knowledge, and the right internal state. Nothing more, nothing less. That's the system. Not relaxation. Not Zen. An entirely different relationship with pressure, built from the inside out. Chapter 6. The invisible work. Even with the ordinary mind and the mental clear-out, Marcus kept running into a wall. He wasn't naturally calm under pressure. He was forcing himself to be calm, and there's a massive difference. That's when he uncovered the third principle. The outcome is decided before the moment arrives. The master never stepped into a duel expecting to find his composure there. His composure was already fully built before the encounter began. By the time blades were drawn, the mental work was already done. Marcus had been making the most common mistake people make, trying to regulate himself during the storm. It doesn't work. Once adrenaline has already surged, once the stress hormones are in your bloodstream and your heart is hammering, you've already lost the window. You can't think your way calm when your biology has already shifted into survival mode. Real preparation happens in the quiet moments, long before any pressure arrives. He developed what he called shadow rehearsal. Every day, for about 20 minutes, he would mentally simulate a high-stakes situation while consciously maintaining his grounded, everyday state of mind. Big presentation in a week? Every day he'd close his eyes and walk through it, entering the room, beginning to speak, fielding tough questions, navigating tension, all while feeling exactly as settled as he did sitting alone with his morning coffee. The brain is not a perfect reality detector. Neuroscience shows that vivid mental simulation activates many of the same neural circuits as the actual experience. So when the real moment came, it wasn't a first encounter. His nervous system had already lived through it, dozens of times. Chapter 7. The unshakable. Center. 6 weeks in, the real test arrived. A presentation to senior leadership. Significant budget on the line. No safety net. Marcus walked into that room and felt something he had never felt in a high-stakes setting before. Not confidence. Not forced calm. Just presence. Like he was standing in his own living room. The presentation moved naturally. Hard questions came, he answered them the way you answer something obvious. Pointed, aggressive follow-ups arrived. He responded the way you'd respond to a friend asking about your weekend. After it ended, a senior leader pulled him aside and said something that reframed everything for Marcus. There's something about the way you carry yourself. It's unsettling, in the best way. Not impressive. Not admirable. Unsettling. That's the signal. When your stillness makes others quietly uncomfortable, you've crossed into a different tier. Because genuine calm is rare enough that most people don't know how to process it. They're so accustomed to their own internal noise that when they encounter someone operating without it, it holds up a mirror. Your peace reflects their chaos back at them. Chapter 8, Stillness as Strategy. Here is what most people completely miss. Calm is not the absence of power. Calm is power. When you stop feeding emotional reactions to provocations, to pressure, to attempts at manipulation, you create a vacuum. And others rush to fill it. They show their strategy. They reveal their anxiety. They expose their weak points. You remain unreadable. In any negotiation or conflict, this is a decisive advantage. When someone is trying to shake you and can't, they escalate. They become desperate. They offer too much, say too much, reveal too much. They make errors they would never make with someone visibly rattled. Marcus started using this deliberately. A client pushing hard for concessions he couldn't justify, Marcus simply listened. Fully, quietly, without agreement or resistance. He absorbed the pressure without returning it. The pressure had nowhere to go. It circled back. It's the same principle as pushing against an immovable surface. The force doesn't disappear, it comes back to the person applying it. 3 months later, Marcus had a reputation in his organization. 6 months later, a promotion. A year later, he was leading the division that no one else wanted because of how demanding it was. Not because he was the smartest person in the building. Because he had become genuinely unbreakable. Chapter 9. The complete framework. The system Marcus followed draws from 5 layered principles, each one building on the last. Foundation, the ordinary mind. The same internal state regardless of external conditions. Whether the stakes are 0 or enormous, your center doesn't shift. This is the base. Without it, nothing else holds. Layer 2, productive emptiness. A mind deliberately cleared of everything that doesn't serve the present moment. No mental noise about outcomes, judgments, or futures. Only what's needed right now. Layer 3, shadow rehearsal. Doing the mental work in advance. Building familiarity with the situation before the situation arrives, so your nervous system has no reason to treat it as a threat. Layer 4, non-reactive reading. Observing your environment clearly and completely, without letting what you observe disturb your internal state. You see everything. You're moved by nothing. Layer 5, the unshakable identity. The deepest layer. Not a technique. Not a practice. A fundamental shift in who you are. A self that doesn't crack under pressure because that version of you no longer exists. You don't skip layers. You don't reach the identity shift without first clearing your mind. You don't clear your mind without first training the ordinary mind. The structure matters. For Marcus, full integration took about 6 months. But when it was complete, something quietly profound had shifted. Colleagues started coming to him for advice on handling stress. Leadership began placing him in the hardest situations. Not because they were punishing him, but because they trusted him not to break. Clients responded to him differently, with a kind of instinctive respect that had nothing to do with his title. Research in behavioral psychology points to why. People who maintain genuine composure under stress emit measurably different signals. In their tone, their body language, the quality of their attention. Other people's nervous systems interpret this as safety, as authority, as trustworthiness. It's a primal read. In times of chaos, we orient toward whoever isn't panicking. This framework won't make you a more relaxed version of who you already are. It will make you someone fundamentally different. Someone others look at and quietly wonder, how does he do that? How does she stay that still? Because when the transformation is complete, you're not managing pressure anymore. You're not resisting it or suppressing it or breathing through it. You've simply become someone it no longer has traction on. Real power was never about reacting faster or fighting harder. It was always about being so rooted that pressure has nothing to grip. The question is whether you want that level of groundedness, because it isn't built through relaxation techniques. It's built through a kind of inner reconstruction. The old reactive self gradually stops running the show. A steadier, more anchored self takes its place. And the day someone tells you that your calm makes them uncomfortable, that's the day you'll know the work is done. Serenity isn't a state you visit. It's a person you become. If this resonated with you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And drop a comment. Which pressure situation do you most want to master? I read everything. Thanks for watching all the way through. See you in the next one.